Can you feel this? Hey, everybody. Good evening. It is Saturday night. It is November 28th, 2020, and we're here for our 23rd episode of Star Trek Radio Theater here on Live Long and Podcast. I'm Dave Mader, and I'm very pleased to present this episode to you tonight. This is Second Chances from Star Trek The Next Generation from the 6th season, which first aired in 1993. It's from 2369 in terms of the calendar year for Star Trek, and it's by René Echevarria. We also have script edits by Kevin, Ashley, and myself throughout, and we're going to have, I'll introduce the cast after the show, but we hope you enjoy our read. This is the episode where we learn that Commander William Riker has a transporter duplicate that was created for him 8 years prior, and so this kind of reignites a romance perhaps in their past, so much so that we had to split up the Riker role here into two different parts, so you'll be hearing two different voices for that particular role tonight. So anyway, with no further ado, let's jump into the show.
We focus on the Enterprise flying through space.
Captain's log, stardate 46915.2. The Enterprise is orbiting Novala 4, waiting for an opportunity to retrieve scientific data left there by Starfleet researchers when they were forced to evacuate 8 years ago.
We focus on 10 forward. It's jazz night and the quartet are in full swing. Commander Riker is jamming on the trombone, playing Tell Them I Remember You. Beverly and Troi are sitting at the bar, enjoying the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Any requests tonight?
Nightbird! Troi is given a look by Commander Riker.
Any requests?
Nightbird! Commander Riker gives Troi a long, dirty look and hesitantly announces the next song.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nightbird. 1, 2.
The band begins a new piece.
What was that all about? Will's been trying to get this piece right for 10 years now. He's never made it through the solo. Here it comes!
Commander Riker looks worried and then brings the trombone up to his lips.
Data to Commander Riker.
Riker is pleased at the interruption.
Go ahead.
Commander, you are needed on the bridge.
On my way. Saved by the bell.
Troi looks disappointed as Commander Riker leaves. We focus on the bridge. Commander Riker exits the turbolift and heads over to Data at the science station.
You wanted to see me, Mr. Data?
Yes, sir. It appears we will be able to transport to the service sooner than anticipated.
Is the planet's distortion field rephasing sooner than we predicted?
No, sir. Using the Potemkin transport logs from the original evacuation, Commander LaForge and I were able to modify the transporters.
So we can beam out through the higher distortion field.
The transporters are considerably more efficient than those used on the Potemkin 8 years ago.
That's a good thing. I almost didn't make it off the surface. When can we get started?
97 minutes, sir.
How long will the transport window be open?
26 minutes. After that, the distortion field will rephase.
That doesn't give us much time to retrieve the database.
The planet's proximity to its sun will create 2 additional transport windows in the next 3 days.
Let's hope that's enough.
It will have to be, sir. The next transport window will not occur for another 8 years, when the planet's orbit will bring it close enough to the sun to dephase the distortion field.
Okay. Notify the away team that we'll be going in ahead of schedule. I'll tell the captain.
Aye, sir.
We focus on a research station. Riker, Data, Worf, and an unknown crewwoman beam in.
This is different than I remember. The place was a mess when we left.
Commander?
Someone was here.
A ship could have been caught in the distortion field and crashed. The survivors may have taken refuge here.
Commander. Someone is approaching. A humanoid. 40 meters due east and closing.
They take up defensive positions, and a figure in tattered clothing comes through the door. He looks like Riker's identical twin. Both Rikers are shocked. Fade out.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before.
Fade in. Our Riker is walking around imposter Riker, giving him a once-over. The second is wearing a Riker Season 1 gold uniform with Lieutenant Pips, in contrast to Commander's Riker modern red uniform with Commander Pips.
Who are you?
Who are you?
I'm Commander William Riker from the Federation Starship Enterprise.
That's not possible. I'm Will Riker.
May I ask how you got here?
8 years ago, I led a team to evacuate the station,
What ship were you on?
the Potemkin.
Why did you not return to the Potemkin with the others?
I was the last one out. The distortion field must have interfered with the transport. They lost their signal lock on me when I tried to contact the ship. I couldn't get through the interference. If you check with Starfleet, I'm sure they will have recorded that I was lost on that day.
That's not what happened. I was the last one out, and I made it back to the Potemkin.
You don't believe me.
It's not that we don't believe you. It's just hard to see how both stories could be true. Would you be willing to have our doctor check you out?
Of course.
Mr. Worf, take him directly to sickbay and notify the captain once you're on board. Let's get to work.
Worf to Enterprise. 2 to beam up.
Aye, sir. Stand by.
We focus on sickbay. Beverly is scanning spare Will with a tricorder.
Looks like you fractured your arm a few years ago.
I was doing some repairs under the station when an earthquake hit. I got caught in a rock slide. I had to set it myself.
Picard enters sickbay, pauses for a moment, and then heads over to alternative Will.
Jean-Luc Picard,
Lieutenant Will Riker.
I hope you understand our need to verify your claim.
Yes, sir.
Genetically, he's indistinguishable from Commander Riker.
Could there be some sort of, cloning involved here?
I don't think so. There's no genetic drift.
But that's not conclusive.
That's why I compared their brain scans. Brain organization patterns are unique as fingerprints, except for minor differences. Theirs are identical.
But can't brain patterns be, cloned?
No. They're determined by experience, mostly from early childhood.
But how can two grown men share the same childhood experiences? It just doesn't make any sense.
I am Will Riker. I don't know who or what made it back to the Potemkin that day, but it wasn't me.
Lieutenant, our chief engineer is checking the transport logs of the Potemkin. Perhaps that will shed some light on the matter. Don't worry, we will get to the bottom of this. And in the meantime, you will be taken to your quarters. Try to make yourself, comfortable as possible.
I will. The replicators on the station haven't worked for a long time ago. It's been a while since I've had a decent meal. Doctor?
Supplementary Will gets up and leaves sickbay, with 2 security guards following. We focus on the observation lounge. Data, LaForge, Troi, Crusher, Picard, and legitimate Riker are sitting around the table.
Apparently, there was a massive energy surge in the distortion field around the planet just at the moment you tried to beam out. The transporter chief tried to compensate by initiating a second containment beam.
An interesting approach. He must have been planning to reintegrate the two patterns into the transporter buff.
Actually, it wasn't really necessary. Commander Riker's pattern maintained its integrity with just the one containment beam. He made it back to the ship just fine. What happened to the second beam? The transporter chief shut it down, but somehow it was reflected back to the surface.
Et voila! Another William Riker materialized here.
How was the second pattern able to maintain its integrity?
The containment beam must have had the exact same phase differential as a distortion field.
Which one of them is real?
That's the thing. Both. You were both materialized from a complete pattern. Up until that moment, you were the same person.
Of course, as you and Lieutenant Riker have lived very different lives for the past 8 years, you are now very different people. I suppose it's like meeting someone's twin, mais non? But no matter how strange it may seem to us, we now have 2 Will Rikers on board, and as Lieutenant Riker will be with us for several days, I think we should do everything we can to make him, comfortable and welcome.
We still have the problem of retrieving the database. The computer on the station is not completely operational.
Many of its components have been removed. Apparently, Lieutenant Riker used them to keep the station's radiation shield operational.
Can it be repaired, at least enough to access the database?
Without knowing what he did, that'll be tough.
Perhaps he can help us, no? He was alone down there for a long time. I'm hesitate to go back until he's been evaluated.
I'll talk to him.
Thank you, Counselor.
We focus on backup Riker's quarters. The lieutenant is in fresh gold uniform and finishing a meal when the doorbell rings.
Come in.
He sweeps her off her feet, literally, and kisses her.
Imzadi.
Well,
She pushes him away.
I never thought I'd see you again.
we need to talk.
You're on board because of him.
No. Commander Riker and I are friends. Close friends, but nothing more. Why don't we sit down? Do you remember the last time we saw each other?
Like yesterday, the Janarin Falls on Beta Z.
It was the day before you started tour on the Potemkin.
And we were going to meet on Ryza 6 weeks later.
We never did.
I know.
No, what I mean is, Commander Riker and I never did see each other. You see, he ended a promotion very quickly.
I know that too. For exceptional valor during the evacuation of the research station on Nervala 4. I looked at his service record.
He chose to make his career a priority. There wasn't much time for anything else. We kept in touch, but we didn't see each other until we were both posted to the Enterprise 2 years later. By then, our feelings for each other had changed. We served together for 6 years. Things never really went back to the way they used to be.
I had a lot of time on my hands when I was down on that station. There were days I felt so alone I thought I might lose my mind. Do you know how I made it through? I thought if I hung on for one more day, they'd rescue me. Maybe I'd see you again. I guess things don't always work out the way you expect them to.
I know this isn't what you were hoping for, but that doesn't mean you can't make a future for yourself.
Thanks.
Captain Picard wanted me to find it out if you'd be willing to help retrieve the station's database.
I reconfigured that computer so many times, they probably can't make heads over heels of it. I'd be happy to help.
Do you feel up to it?
Absolutely.
Good. I'll tell the captain. Well, I have to go.
Deanna, I know it's been a long time since we've been together, and I know your feelings have changed. Mine haven't. I can't just give up. I'd like to be with you again.
Good night, Will.
Riker looks heartbroken. We focus on the transporter room. O'Brien isn't there, and it's just not the same.
Face the starship is dropping. The second transport window opens in 42 seconds.
How long will we have, Lieutenant?
36 minutes, sir.
We are losing time. Lieutenant Riker should be here.
Computer, locate Lieutenant.
Lieutenant Riker dashes in.
Cancel inquiry.
You were supposed to report here at 800 hours.
I'm sorry,
I guess it's been a while since you had to punch a clock. Let's go. Energize.
I'll punch your face.
We focus on the research station.
I've shut down most of the consoles to save power. I rerouted just about everything through here.
Commander Riker and Lieutenant Riker give each other looks. It's obvious they're not going to be friends.
Check out the primary EPS system. See if you can get some power to the rest of these consoles.
I shunted the database to the main core underneath the station.
Can we access it from here?
There's been a lot of seismic activity over the years. If the servo links were damaged, we may not be able to. I'll try to tap into the command pathways. You see, if you can access and disable the file server...
Lieutenant Riker goes under a console, while Commander Riker sits in a chair.
You know, I've been thinking we should probably let Dad know what happened.
I'm sure he'll be thrilled to know there are two of us now.
Actually, he and I have been able to patch up a few things.
I've been able to get by for a long time without seeing him. I'm not about to start now. What made you contact him?
I didn't. He came on board the Enterprise to brief me when I was offered the Ares.
What did he say when you turned down your own command?
He couldn't understand why I did it.
For once, he and I agree on something.
The primary EPS... EPS coupling is fused. The entire unit will have to be replaced.
I have access to the command pathways. The interlink pathways are functioning now.
See if that did the trick. No, it's not working.
The server link must be damaged. We're going to have to go under the station and access the core directly.
We have less than 3 minutes left.
I'll stay here. I'll be finished by the time the third window opens.
It's too dangerous. Our scans show the caverns are unstable.
I've been down there dozens of times. I know my way around.
We'll come back during the third window. We'll bring a new EPS coupling and try to access the core from another console up here. Riker to Enterprise.
LaForge here.
We're ready to beam out.
You go ahead. I'll be finished by the time you get back.
Hold it!
Commander Riker rushes after Lieutenant Riker. He grabs him and spins him around, angry.
I gave you an order, Lieutenant.
We focus on Troi's quarters. Troi enters and heads right for the replicator.
Computer. Valerian routine. Hot.
As she heads away from the replicator, she notices that there's a note in the fruit bowl on her table. She opens the note and reads it aloud, despite the fact that she's the only one in the room.
Meet me at transporter room 3 at 1900 hours. It's important.
She doesn't seem fazed by the fact that Lieutenant Riker has clearly broken into her quarters to leave that note. We focus on the transporter room. There's another note, tied with a pink flower and bow. Troi picks it up and reads it aloud. Again.
It pulses unending all through the night. Seek out the crystal that powers our flight.
Troi enters and heads to the warp core to get the next note. LaForge is bewildered that she's touching the warp core. He's worried about a coolant leak.
Can I help you, counselor?
No, thank you.
We focus on the corridor. Troi reads the third clue, which also contains a bite-sized chocolate.
What the future holds, no one can know. But for where we looking, for we go.
This clue is so obvious, she almost seems disappointed. She pops the chocolate in her mouth as she enters the turbo lift. We focus on 10 forward. Troi wanders in, looking around. She spots the table with a vase for her flower and a gift wrap box. It contains an etching.
The Generan Falls.
I remember. Where did you get this?
I made it a couple of years ago down on the station.
You made this?
You should have seen the first two. It took a while to get a fine enough beam out of the phaser.
It's lovely. Thank you.
Can you stay and talk? I wanted to remember our last night together.
Troi is pleased, but suddenly things get awkward.
So, how does it feel to be with people again?
Great. Strange. For a long time, I did whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. It's been hard taking orders again.
I can imagine.
But I guess I'll have to get used to it if I want to get my career going again.
Is that what you decided to do?
Remember, I'm the one who wanted to make captain by the time I was 35. I'm a little behind schedule, I'll admit that.
It's good. You don't feel set back.
I do. Things are a little more complicated than I had planned, but there's nothing going to stand in the way of my getting what I want.
A waiter comes over with a tray of drinks.
There you go.
Thanks. You don't know how many times I thought about you, about us. For weeks after the evacuation, I kept thinking they'd find a way through the distortion field and come back for me. I even thought we'd meet on Ryza like we planned, but days went by and nobody came. Then I realized why. They thought that I'd been killed in the beam out. No one came down because they thought there was no one to come down for. So I figured that they'd had a memorial service for me. Somehow that made me feel better.
I can understand that.
You were there, all dressed in black. Very flattering on you, by the way.
I'm sure I look terrible with my eyes all red and swollen from crying.
Sometimes I look up into the sky and I'd think, if I tried hard enough, I could make you feel my presence. If I could let you know that I was alive, maybe you'd wait for me. I know it sounds crazy, but there were times when I could have sworn... What am I talking about?
The other day when I told you how Commander Riker and I didn't meet on Riza, what I didn't say was how disappointed I was.
You didn't have to. I knew.
I started to hear from him less and less. I knew his career was taking him away from me, but I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe it was over. I spent a lot of time talking about him, wondering where he was, what he was doing. Sometimes I look into the sky and imagine that he knew. And that somehow he could sense me thinking about him. So, who knows? Maybe one night we were looking up at the same star and you were thinking about me. In a way, I was thinking about you.
We focus on the ready room.
Come.
Commander Riker enters.
You wanted to see me, sir?
Oui, number one, come in. Lieutenant Riker has been to see me about the away mission. He believes that the only way to retrieve the database is by directly accessing the main core underneath the station.
The seismic activity makes those caverns very unstable. In my opinion, it's too risky.
He said that he was down there recently. He seemed, confident that it could be done safely.
There's a good chance we will be able to retrieve the database from one of those consoles inside the station.
But if it doesn't work, we won't have another chance for 8 years.
Lieutenant Riker's plan is more dangerous, but it does have a better chance of succeeding.
Given the importance of the data, I think that it's worth the risk.
I'll look over the schematics and then I'll draw up a mission plan.
I'm sure that Lieutenant Riker will be happy to help with that.
I'll talk to him.
We focus on engineering. Spin-off Riker enters with purpose and starts fiddling with some controls. Sir?
Lieutenant?
Sir.
I just met with the captain about your mission recommendation. I would appreciate if next time you came to me first.
I tried talking to you yesterday on the station. You wouldn't hear me out.
I heard you, Lieutenant. I rejected your plan.
May I ask what the captain decided?
The captain has decided to go with your recommendation, but that's not the point.
Isn't it?
You think I'm coming down on you because the captain overruled me? Think again. I happen to disagree with his decision, but he is my commanding officer and I follow his orders. Just so there's no confusion, I am your commanding officer, and I expect you to do the same. If you can't, there's no place for you on my away team.
Yes, sir.
There will be a meeting in the observation lounge at 1400 hours to draw up a mission plan.
We focus on the gymnasium. Beverly and Deanna are doing their Mokbara exercises, wearing silly white outfits.
We stayed in 10 forward, talking for hours.
Then what happened?
He walked me to my quarters.
Then what happened?
Beverly,
I'm just asking.
you know it's been over between Will and me for a long time.
He's not Will, but he is Will. But you know what I mean.
It's really hard for me to separate my feelings for them.
Deanna, just because things turned out the way they did between you and Commander Riker doesn't mean you shouldn't let things between you and Lieutenant Riker take their course.
I knew you'd encourage me.
I thought that's why you brought it up.
Lieutenant Riker enters in his silly white outfit. Crusher notices him and immediately stops what she's doing.
Well, I think I'll call it a day.
Beverly,
Lieutenant Riker limbers up.
Bye.
Some form of Tai Chi Chuan?
Klingon exercises, actually. Lieutenant Worf teaches a class.
The forms are very similar. Do that move again.
She does, and he copies. This is the worst.
You just did Kumanara.
Tai Chi Chuan. It's called the crane block. Now let's try something else.
He does a move that reaches out to her. She takes the arm, bends it back, and rolls him onto his back.
What was that called? Mr. Worf's a very good teacher.
And now she has him on the floor. Their lips connect in a prelude to horizontal jogging. We focus on 10 forward. Commander Riker is sitting at the bar. Troi comes in and heads over to him.
Hello, Will.
If you want to be with him, you don't have to ask my permission. The look in your eyes, I recognize it. You used to have it for me.
We both had relationships with other people. This is different. I didn't know how you'd feel about it.
Flattered. Sort of.
This must be strange for you.
Ever since he came on board, I find myself thinking about the choice you and I made.
Me too.
Do me a favor. Be careful.
Will, I know you and he have had some problems.
That's not what I'm talking about. If he had gotten off the planet instead of me, don't you think he would have made the same choices that I made? I just don't want you to get hurt again.
We focus on Commander Riker's quarters. Worf, Data, and Commander Riker are playing poker. 2 pair!
Full boat! King's over. I'd like to thank you both for your very generous contributions. Come in.
Lieutenant Riker enters.
I thought you'd be alone. Excuse me.
Why don't you join us?
The 2 Rikers are sitting opposite each other.
The game is 5-card draw. No limit. Ante, please.
Data deals.
Lieutenant,
3, please.
Mr. Worf,
4!
Commander.
I'll play these.
Dealer takes 2. You control the bet, Lieutenant.
50.
Fold.
Here's your 50 and 10 more.
You didn't take any cards. You must be holding something. Why not make it a little sweeter?
No thanks.
Playing it safe?
You in?
I will call.
Here's your 10. And it will cost you another 100.
Here comes the big dick energy.
I've practiced in the mirror too long to be fooled by that face. You're bluffing. Here's your 120 more.
Dealer Fold.
I thought if one thing were clear by now, it's that you and I play things a little differently.
Why don't we wait and see who comes out on top?
I thought you were willing to settle for second, Commander.
I've never settled for anything in my life. I know what I want. I know what I've got. And you'd be lucky to do as well, Lieutenant.
Here's your 20. 300 more.
Now I know you're bluffing.
Are you in or not?
Why don't we get this over with? I'll call your 3 and raise you anything you've got left. Well?
Take it. You always had the better hand in everything.
Lieutenant Riker gets up and leaves. WTF was that? We focus on Troi's quarters.
Come in.
Hi. I'm sorry to just stop by like this, but there's something I'd like to talk to you about.
Lieutenant Riker enters.
Captain Picard made some inquiries. He managed to get me a posting on the Gandhi, and considering how long I've been out of commission, it's an amazing opportunity.
When would you leave?
In about a week.
I see.
She knows what's up.
Deanna, after I've served for 6 months, I'm eligible to bring family aboard. If we got married...
You said those exact words to me before when you went to serve on the Potemkin.
I know. I was just held up for a while.
But if you haven't been, what would have happened between us?
I wouldn't have made the mistake of leaving you. I know that much.
I don't know if I can believe that. It took me a long time to get over what happened between Commander Riker and me. I don't know that I want to put myself in that position again.
I would never hurt you, Deanna.
It's not just that. I've worked hard to make a life for myself on the Enterprise. I'm happy here.
If the situation were different, I'd stay. But I can't. Not while he's on board.
I know.
Are you saying it's over?
No. I just don't know if I'm ready to give up my life here. Maybe we both need some time.
He kisses her.
Good night.
We focus on the Enterprise flying through space.
Captain's log, how you say, supplemental. The third transport window has opened and the away team is making their final attempt at retrieving the database.
We focus on the research station. The original away team is back with Lieutenant Riker.
Once we restore the servo link, you can shunt the database up to this console. Are you ready, Commander Data?
You're with me, Lieutenant.
I thought Commander Data's expertise...
It doesn't take that much expertise to repair a servo link. You and I can handle it.
The two Rikers leave.
Lieutenant, I am curious about something. If you met a double of yourself, would you, as the captain would say, how you say, have difficulty interacting with him?
I think so.
Why?
I'm not easy to get along with.
But Commander Riker and Lieutenant Riker are. Yet they seem to have trouble getting along with each other. I have found that humans value their uniqueness. That sense that they are different from everyone else. The existence of a double would preclude that feeling. Could that be the source of the friction?
Or perhaps it's more a matter of seeing something in your double. Something you do not like in yourself. We focus on the cavern. Twisted metal and various bits and pieces of scaffolding and gantry across a chasm.
This is it. There's the core, over there.
You waiting for something?
Your orders, sir. How would you like me to get over there, sir?
You've been down here a dozen times. I'm sure you know the best way.
Yes, sir, I do.
They head through the scaffolding. Then Lieutenant Riker's tricorder beeps.
It's leaking ion radiation.
Why didn't you report this?
It wasn't here before. This must have just happened recently. If we have to repair this conduit, we won't have time to access that computer core.
Commander Riker goes to a wall panel and pulls a switch. Something switches off.
Scan it now.
It's working. The radiation levels are dropping to normal.
Next time, don't give up so easily.
They head off across a metal bridge to the core. It gives way. And Lieutenant Riker is hanging over a very deep drop. Commander Riker lays down and grabs his arms. Lieutenant Riker is having trouble getting a foothold.
Hang on! Come on, grab on! Come on! Come on, climb! Come on, I'm being pulled in!
Let go! One of us has to get out of here!
Climb! Come on! Climb!
Finally, Lieutenant Riker scrambles to safety over the top of Commander Riker. Lieutenant Riker gets to his feet and looks down to the drop that surely would have killed him. Lieutenant Riker gives Commander Riker a look, indicating relief, gratitude, and perhaps a newfound respect for his doppelganger. We focus on the research station.
They have restored the server link to the core. We can now begin downloading the database.
Initiating data transfer. We focus on the Enterprise flying through space.
Captain's log, stardate 46920.1. We have retrieved the database from Navala Station and are headed for our, rendezvous with the Gandhi.
We focus on Lieutenant Riker's quarters.
Come in.
Troi enters.
I hear the Gandhi's going on a terraforming mission to the Lagana sector.
That's right. It'll take us 4 months just to get there.
I won't be joining you.
I guess I'm not surprised to hear that.
I'm just not ready to give up my life here. Not yet.
As they stand close together, the doorbell rings.
Come in.
Commander Riker enters and then looks embarrassed at the scene he's interrupted.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I wanted to give you something. My quarters are full of things that I suppose belong to both of us. The least I could do is give you this.
It's a trombone, of course.
Thanks.
Good luck, Will.
I actually thought I might go with the name Thomas.
Your middle name.
I guess we really are different. I never really cared for that name.
Well, I sort of like it. I guess I'd better get going.
Tom tenderly kisses Deanna farewell.
I waited a long time. I guess I can wait a little longer.
On his way out, he turns to Will.
Take care of her.
Tom leaves. Will holds out his hand to Deanna, and they leave arm in arm.
Yes, and that concludes our reading of Star Trek Radio Theater and Second Chances from Star Trek The Next Generation 6th season with the Tom Riker origin. We're going to bring in the whole cast here. Hey, I'm Dave. This is all the maters are here in the command center. We're going to bring in our amazing Will Riker and narrator / Lieutenant Worf or Lieutenant Worf, depending on who's saying it. We got Kevin Millard and Ashley Millard. Great job. Great. We also have the woman whose heart was broken. We got Mott Tyrell, who was having to sort out all these feelings, Mott, as Deanna Troi. You know, this was a tough one for you, you know, it was tough, you know. And we also have the amazing Michael and Jessica Chan, who were playing Tom Riker and Captain Picard, respectively. Great job. Jessica, I especially liked how do you say with your character. My favorite
Rendezvous.
Rendezvous, which is the French word. How do you say this French word? Which is so great. It killed me. So great job. And Jane, you were Geordi LaForge and Beverly Crusher. And Jeff, you were Data.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of a I don't know what I was. I was an Italian transporter chief, I think. And and I was also a waiter. Yeah, that's it. So something. I was a sound guy too. I did some sounds. Sorry, a few times I was a premature sound decatur. So, you know, sorry about those things. Really loved some great scenes tonight with the Will Riker and the Tom Riker, if you will, who, you know, he doesn't have the name Tom to the very end of the episode, but the ranks are kind of what distinguish them. Plus the some fun jokes there with the spin-off Rikers and different things. As we know, we did the other Tom Riker episode before this many weeks ago. With Defiant, which was a Deep Space Nine episode, and Jessica played Tom / who was impersonating Will Riker in that flick. So, and yeah, everyone was great. The poker game. What's going on in that poker game with these two guys? They're betting all this fake money against each other. They're in this hand that doesn't mean anything, but it seems very serious for a bit there.
Like Riker is usually like a nice guy, but he's such a dick through this entire episode. Even at the end when he's giving him the gift and he tells him his name, he goes, "I don't like it." Like, I
don't like your name. He's like, I guess our quarters are full of things that belongs to us both, so I'm giving you this one thing. You get the trombone. I think
we did miss an opportunity to say that Riker gave him his bone.
Yep.
Yeah. I gave him. I threw him a bone, a trombone, if you will. There was the.
His trombone was on the other chair in the poker scene before he removed it to let Thomas in it.
Yeah, it was blocking the way.
Yeah, there was a lot of innuendo there with the trombone this episode.
The trombone played the slide techniques and different things going on here. Yeah, this was an interesting one. Like, just from a science fiction point of view, what if you met like a duplicate of yourself from several years ago and you had lived these separate lives, just like to kind of ponder that sort of hypothetical. And if we're in love with a version of somebody many years ago, as Mott was forced to experience tonight with being torn between Michael and Kevin, and how to deal with that. But I think you sorted it out okay.
Hey,
there,
he
Mott.
ended up on my arm.
Yeah, right. Arm in arm, and you were supposed to take and ultimately Deanna Troi marries Will Riker, but this is not that at this point in the relationship. They're not a couple.
We don't know that. Picard season 2, maybe they'll turn it around. And Tom Riker got out of that jail from before, and he married Deanna and pretended to be Will. He liked doing that.
That's a possibility. There's a lot of the different things that could, I always liked the Tom Riker character. I just thought he was interesting. What they originally were going to do is they were going to kill off Will Riker in this episode. That was the original pitch because they wanted to make Data the first officer, and they were going to kill off Will Riker, but Frakes would stay on the show as Tom Riker sort of after that. But that was
the corrected course. That's terrible.
They ultimately didn't do that.
Good choice.
Yeah. Because come on, Will Riker, great character. He's he's the one who fought the Borg or Wolf 3. Well, not right after Wolf 359 and took down the cube with the help of the crew.
By the way, my initial plan was to wait to hear how Kevin played the character and then tried to do a terrible version of that. Then you played it straight, and I was like, "Damn it!" All right, playing it straight.
No, it worked with you two playing it straight, both straight.
Really good. Your voices are, and both had the same rhythm to your voice, and I thought you sound similar without being the same guy. Almost maybe you're away for 8 years, and
Well, yeah, and Tom Riker was being nice through the whole thing, and I was trying to be a dick through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Except when he goes, "The computer's over there, sir." He's like, "Well, what are you waiting for? I got this backpack on."
And the nice guy ended up in the penal colony, and the dick ended up in a
making
bathtub
pizzas with his wife on some planet.
It was such a missed opportunity to do a spin-off where you had multiplicity, like that Michael Keaton movie, but more Rikers, and they should have just kept making more.
I think
asshole Riker, nice Riker, and then they can have the other
I think they should have done this episode with Worf instead.
Riker that's no good with women. The Geordi version of Riker.
It's not possible.
That would be all right.
I also like in this episode that Geordi walks up to Deanna and she's like, "No, you can't help me." Even Deanna's like, "No, Geordi, no. This is romantic stuff you won't understand."
Yeah.
That's why he was bewildered.
Let's face it, your average is pretty low. You're not making the major leagues here, Geordi. You're in single A at best.
Well, you're moving up. All right. So, hey, great show, everybody. I take a bow. Really great job. Woo! Oh, wait, I got a sound effect for that, don't I? Now, go back to Nightbird. Okay. Yes. Nightbird. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to be back next week for Deep Space Nine. We're going to be doing, as we're winding down season 1 here in 2020 for Star Trek Radio Theater. And we're doing Deep Space Nine next week, but we'll be back in 3 weeks for the finale, which is on December 12th. We're going to be doing Star Trek 4: The Voyage Home as our first movie, our first 2 hour going on. We got everybody who's on tonight. Plus, we'll have Geordi and Jamil in for this one, and it's going to be great. I think it's going to be a lot of fun doing this movie. This is a really fun script, and as you can see there on screen, if you're following along, it's a lot of us, playing multiple roles. Some of us, in Kevin's case, he only has one singular part, which, but it's a big one in Kirk. So I'm really looking forward to this. Also, check out our other stuff here on Live Long and Podcast, including Tuesday night Deep Space Nine rewatches, Wednesday night original series, and Thursday night we're also covering Star Trek Discovery. And join us here tomorrow. Well, not here, but on our other channel, Trivial Debates, as we will be doing our November episode. Jamil Robinson's going to be hosting over there. We're going to have Chris Seymour, Adam Woodward, and Jody Simpson duking it out over some amazing questions that Jamil has picked out, including what movie best represents 2020. In the TV round, we have what movie flop could find success with a TV adaptation. In music, what is the best movie score in the last 20 years? for history to honor Bill and Ted Face the Music. If you could go back in time and bring one person back from the past, what historical figure would be the biggest benefit to society in 2020? In sports, we have what is the most memorable sporting moment in the last 20 years? And for wildcard, who is the true villain of The Wizard of Oz? And you're not allowed to pick the Wicked Witch of the West. So check that all out on tomorrow afternoon. Trivial Debates will be going live at 1 p.m. Eastern. And what else am I forgetting? I think that's it. We have another channel, Super Mario Bros. Podcasting. If you're into Big Brother Survivor or Westworld or any kind of other shows, check out our stuff there. Jeff and I do that. And I think that's all the shows we have. So we'll be back next week for Star Trek, the next iteration of Star Trek Radio Theater. We hope you liked it. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you on the flip side. Have a great night, everybody.